Hey guys, I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody that ended up voting for Left Alone on Steam Greenlight, because we eventually got the game greenlit. So again, thanks to everybody that voted. We really appreciate the votes that you've given and the support that you've shown with all the comments and everything. So again, hopefully we can make this game good and everybody who's looking forward to playing it can have a really good time. So moving on from there is we're going to look into the next part of the survival series. So this is going to be a continuation or a follow-on from what I did last time, which was showing you a very basic, sort of really basic fishing mechanic. So if you remember last time that we had this square that would move to these pink boxes. Now I've only made them pink so you could see them because I deleted the mesh renderer last time. So if I play the game, you'll notice that that box moves towards the random points but doesn't really look like a fish. And I did say in the comments in the last tutorial that I'd show you how to make something a little bit more advanced with a couple of code tweaks and bring in your own model. So what I've done is I've modelled something, a quick basic fish. I've rigged it and I've animated it just to move the sort of the tail fin around so it looks like it's moving or swimming. So all we're going to do is that when you go inside the pack, which you can download from our website on the survival series link, what we can do is we can import a new asset. What we're going to do is import fish at swim. And fish at swim is just going to be the model of the fish with the rigged animation. So what I usually like to do, it's dependent on what you want this to be, but I'm going to scale this up. So if you click on the actual fish at swim, scale it up to 0.02 and then just click apply. And then on the rig settings, it'll be on generic. If you switch that to legacy, we can use the old legacy animation system. So then what we can do from there is we can just drag that fish into our scene. So what I'll do is actually delete the old script and the old box. Really, it's just a basic model. It's not got any textures on it, so it can be up to you if you want to do something similar or edit the thing however you like. But what goes on here is that we've got the fish model and it's going to have an animation. And we can see the animation if I show you the swim animation down here. I'll have to pull it up for you to preview. And then if I press play, you'll notice that within the editor it does a simple sort of animation. So what we can do from there is like how we added to the box, we'll grab the fish model over on this side and we'll just add fish movement to this. Now what we can do is we can change the size, so however many objects they're going to be able to move to, you can add that to 4. And then what we'll do is we'll just quickly drag the destinations that we've got into the inspector slots for this model specifically. And now what you'll notice is that if we play it, there'll be some issues with everything that's going on. It'll play the animation, it'll move pretty fast, and it's sort of not doing something very realistic at all. So we're going to need to sort out the animation so it loops all the time and it actually looks towards the destination that it's moving, as I said, towards. So what we'll do is we'll open up fish movements in MonoDevelop, and now once that's open, we're going to do a few basic things. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by writing a function start, 2 brackets, then 2 curly brackets below, and now we're going to reference our animation and tell it to loop. So what we're going to say animation.play, open brackets, then in quotes the animation name, which is swim, add a semicolon to that. Then we're going to say animation, and then we're going to have 2 square brackets, and within the square brackets we're going to name the animation, so you can add 2 quotes. Then we can add swim in there again, and we can say dot wrap mode equals capital wrap mode dot loop. And then for the sake of this, we thought you might think the animation might be slow, might be fast. It's a little bit slow when we viewed it in the editor, so what we can say is animation, and in the same way, if we add the 2 square brackets and then call the animation within that, we'll say dot speed is equal to 2. So it'll speed up the animation by 2. You can decrease it, you can put 0.5, so that would be half as fast as the original animation. Or you can add it something ridiculous, 5, so it could be swimming really fast. It's dependent on how really you want this to work and how close to the objects it might be. So this is going to control our animation. So now if we go back in here and then we press play, you'll notice that the fish is always playing its animation now, and it's just looping forever. What we could also do is, on the actual script itself, we could make the speed go down to about a 2, and so then it's not so crazy and it doesn't move as quick. And it's going to be it looks a bit weird on top of the sort of floating around in the air, but maybe if you had it in the water it'd look a bit better. But as I said, we want it to look towards the target, so it doesn't look like it's moving sideways or moving backwards and very unrealistic. So what we can do, underneath the line we've got, which is transform.position, talking about the vector 3 move forward, what we can actually do is say transform dot look at, and then in brackets we can write new target. So what this means is that it's going to transform and look at. So transform just means it's going to adjust the movement, or it's just the transform value. So when we speak of transform values, it means the transform values in Unity. You can set its position, you can set its rotation. So it's going to adjust those, and it's going to look at the new target, and the new target is a target of which we found randomly when we're using, or we talked about last time within the array. So if I save this out and we now press play, you'll notice that the fish now swims towards the random target looking the correct way, because then it's actually slightly more realistic than it just sort of swimming sideways or swimming in a sort of weird direction. Now again, it's not 100% perfect because it's still a little bit of a sharp maneuver. Like I said, that you might want to look into using a lerp sort of function or something like that to make it seem like it's a much more smooth when it changes its angles. You could obviously add more position boxes, so there's not so sort of jagged movements between each, but because it always searches for a random target, it's going to look a little bit like that. Now we need to make sure that it's tagged as fish, so the object on it, and you might want to also make sure that you've got physics and a box collider on your fish. And then what we can do is, within the game you can see it there, and we want to be able to pick up, and then we can grab that fish and it'll go into our inventory like we showed in the last video. So again, it's a really simplistic way to actually make a fish. So all it is a simple model with a simple animation of it, basically swimming. And then all we did was add a couple of things to the script, making sure that the animation loops, changing the speed of it if you want to, changing the speed of the actual movement itself, and then adding that simple lining to make sure that it looks at the target that we're finding, so then it adds a touch more realism to the whole thing. So again, I'll provide this model, and all you need to do is import that into Unity, and I'll put that on my website. I hope that helped everybody out, so stay tuned for some more survival tutorials. So again, thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Cheers.